Welcome to another episode of Planning Phase Syndicate. Tonight we have episode 3 called All Your Systems Belong to Us. We're going to have a conversation with our Academy 101 segment about system and activation phase. We then, after that, are going to have a conversation and a roll call segment about trajectory simulator and sensitive controls, because those are two cards that affect the system and activation phase that we feel could be prominent targets for people to play at your locals and in your meta. Then we're going to do our third Constructing the Death Star. And then, folks, if you don't like our Constructing the Death Stars, just let us know. We'll cut those out. But we find them extremely fun, and we're going to use them to play on future games. With that being said, welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate. Tonight, I have my co-host, Charles, the Mandalorian, the Scum Infector, and the soon-tier hater, Dillman, join us, as well as Matt Shivel, the bald but loving teddy bear that will give you a hug and help you learn X-Wing as we continue our journey. Welcome to the show, folks. How are you guys tonight? Doing great. That does sound like you sound very great. You are not making America great again with that, Matt. We gotta go. Let's go one more time, Matt. How are you feeling tonight, sir? All right.
Come on. Fifth element
that, I guess.
call out.
Charles. Good Lord, Matt.
Corbin, my man.
All right, I missed that. I've only seen that movie once.
Never seen Fifth
I've
Element?
only actually seen that movie once, I think.
The episode's over. Go watch Fifth Element.
Once. All right, maybe can we stream? Oh, we can't stream it on here. We're gonna DMCA. Anyway, so Charles and Matt have joined us because we are Planning Phase Syndicate. Our goal is to help work with everybody to teach you X-Wing, as well as give you some tips and tricks on beginners, as well as bring you some meta content and some fun gibberish that we conjure up in the meantime. Tonight we are, like as I said in the beginning opening, we want to cover activation and system phase because I think that's like really important to the game. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's pretty important. It's integral to the game, and it's just one of those things where those are some of the highly debated discussions on how you play the game. But given the fact that we're all different types of players and we want to give a little bit of knowledge and help you start off your journey into X-Wing, this is essentially our way of helping you. So if we want to begin the show, before we get into our Academy 101, let's say, and this is just me kind of spitballing here, but we talk about our different weeks, different things that have happened. And in my world, about a week and a half ago, we played a live in-person game of X-Wing for the first time since the beginning of COVID in March. So 1 year and 2 months ago, we officially were able to play our first in-person game with our local group.
Awesome. Great to be able to play in person.
It was. And yeah. And the difference here, folks, is that we were able to give some tokens away, and we have one giveaway for tokens tonight for somebody that subscribed to the stream since the last time. Charles, go ahead and name that gentleman's name.
J.R. Vallis 13.
Thank you, J.R. Vallis.
There you go, J.R. Vallis. Thank you for joining our syndicate. We welcome you with open arms. What we need to do is Charles will reach out to you and get your address, and we will ship off our first giveaway for Planning Phase Syndicate ever in the history, the entire history in the galaxy of our show. Only 4 episodes,
like
3 episodes.
I'll pull them back up here, guys, just because, why as well. These are unique tokens. They're not going to be ever made again. So for our first 3 people who get us in there, sorry, there's not great light, but it's a strain. Not great light. There we go. A strain token and our Vader deplete token. Anyways, just a little thank you. And like I said, it's a one-off. You will be the only person that, of course, doesn't cheat and make it there themselves, but will be the only person that actually has them in the whole wide world, at least that I know of. So, yeah. So join up, be that person, be that unique person. Thank you, Jr. Yes, please get your address to Charles so we can get those sent out to you shortly. And thank you very much for joining the syndicate. Welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So how was your week, fellas?
Great.
I was to say it's pretty much the same as every
No,
week.
nothing.
Get up, go to work, come back home. And by get up and go to work, I mean walk from my bedroom across my house to my my office, and then go home is leaving the office. Um, Still locked up due to COVID, so
I want to work remote.
So,
it's a blessing.
Charles, let me ask a quick question because they've heard about Matt. They've heard about Matt and my our situation in Michigan. But do you have a local store in Florida that you're able to play at? Have you guys actually been able to go back in person yet, or no?
So actually, at the time of this airing, we have one LGS. It is House Rules Games in Kissimmee, Florida. They hold a weekly league night on Wednesday evenings. The head count limit is 20, so that we can maintain effective social distancing and everything that happens there. And it was just posted on their Facebook page, but our Cool Stuff Gaming store locations, they are the physical brick and mortar of the CoolStuffInc.com website, are actually opening up for in-person play too. I don't know what that means for any of the other games, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, or any of the umpteen million different card games that have a following here.
Who cares?
But
They suck.
for X-Wing players and for Legion players and Armada players, we are able to start, resuming normal play on Wednesdays and the other days that they have set up. So we are playing in person here.
Awesome. So hopefully Charles will be able to report back with some of his crazy scum shenanigans as we go forward. If you're following this and it hasn't happened yet, GSP has a bunch of online tournaments that you're welcomed on. Between the three of us, typically Charles and I do at least one or two out of the series. Matt does one once in a while. They're not his rings because you have to sit there for quite a long time, and sitting is not very fun if you got to do it for like 12 hours. It's not as fun as being able to go stand in person. But we're hoping that in-person play will come back for local stuff in October, which is kind of what Atomic Mass Games has actually stated that will probably. And so hopefully Matt and I will be able to go to a couple local things either here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, or in Detroit area. Or Chicago. Maybe we'll go to Chicago too. It might be go to Chicago.
Doing our own stuff too. Coming real soon. Maybe doing our own little game nights here or there. Oh my goodness. Woo. Please stay tuned to our Facebook chat. And also we'll probably be throwing it here in Discord and stuff like that. For if we do have an in-person event, obviously mask required for the non-vaccinated. Let's keep everybody safe. But yeah, we will be looking at that soon, possibly TM, obviously, hoping for maybe a June event. So if there is some interest, please reach out via Discord or Facebook, and we will get you into possibly getting into some in-person play again. Yay!
I know. It's exciting. With that being said, let's get into our first segment for the night. We want to discuss system and activation phase, right? And it's very important to the aspect of the game. And what we're going to do is I'm going to take a quick setup and we're going to switch. There we go. Over to our live emulation of the game.
So just a real quick recap. In episode 2, during our Academy 101 segment, we went over the initial setup phase and we went into placement as well. And planning phase. So we went over setting your ships up along the edge of the board, placing your rocks, as well as planning your first maneuvers. Normally in a tournament setting, At this point, they will check and make sure that everybody is set and ready to go. And then we slide into the system phase, or as I like to call it, the forgotten phase. Because unless you're running a card that specifies that it takes place during the system phase, this particular phase doesn't normally happen quite a bit. During the system phase, you can place and launch devices such as bombs or other things like that. You can utilize different cards, such as Trajectory Simulator or Sensitive Controls, which later in our roll call, Matt is going to go over those cards in detail so you can see what they do. But it allows you the ability to manipulate the board area prior to knowing where everybody is actually going to move, but after those moves have effectively been locked in place. So if, for instance, I take Captain Nim and let's say for a turn he is here, during my planning phase, I can choose somewhere behind him in order to drop a bomb onto the field. Or as current meta at the time of this episode being recorded, your Zam Wessel, whether it be your pilot or crew card, is also chosen during the system phase. But mainly, system phase is just for setting up bombs, getting them placed on the mat, and getting ready for the next phase. Do you guys have anything to add when it comes to system phase? Because that's really about it for it.
What's the decloak?
Oh, yep. I apologize. I completely forgot because in the
Or
scum world, we
pre-position.
don't use that nasty, nasty things. We have other nasty things we use. But during the system phase, you also can decloak the TIE Phantom or anything with a cloaking device or a Stygium cloaking array. We have those there for you as well. You decloak that ship by removing the cloaking token, or in the case of, is it Whisper?
Whisper
That turns
and
the
Echo.
cloaking token into an evade token?
Is
TIE
it
Phantom
Whisper,
is
Echo?
the platform, guys.
Oh, it's a platform. Okay.
Yep. So if you look
So
at the
all of
stream, you'll see I brought the Echo card up, and we're not going to focus. We're not going to focus on the other abilities. It's just that decloak ability. So essentially, you're going to get to move and go ahead and throw a decloak token on one of these ships, Charles. We're going to pretend. But throw it. There you go. Throw it on Nim. That's which is crazy if Nim could ever decloak.
Oh, Lord, if I could
And so
ever
he-
get a cloaking device on Nim.
Yep. So there you go. So you could decloak in different ways.
So just to
they
break
can
it down real
basically
quick.
it's either a barrel roll or a. Go ahead.
So when you decloak, as you decloak either going one forward, or is it it's one forward
So
or two to the side, right?
Depends on the base. So a small base is a 2. Medium and large is a 1.
Okay. And then if you're using the TIE Phantom chassis, or Echo in this case, which we have up on the screen, you will see that in order to decloak, you must use a 2 bank or 2 straight in order to decloak. This allows you to pre-position your ship before, again, knowing what anybody else is going to do. So it could effectively, depending on your placement, allow you to bump or block an opponent's ship after they've already done their maneuver. But it's just yet another level of the chess-like maneuvering and the mindset that you have to have when playing X-Wing as a whole. At the end of the system phase, now,
There's
excuse me, I'm
actually-
sorry.
Did you go over
During-
pre-position of the new Jedi ships and by any chance?
We did not. Let me take a look here. That is with the
Same Ada. Oi, both of us.
the intuitive, yep, the intuitive controls. So during the system phase, you can boost or barrel roll as a purple action. Now, Matt talked about this in our previous podcast on episode 2. A purple action is something that requires the expenditure of a force token in order to do a purple action or a purple maneuver. And that can also be done during the system phase. So pre-positioning, bombs. Is there anything else that is effective in the system phase that you guys can think of off the top of your head?
I can't think of anything else. Nothing's jumping in at system phase. Bomb dropping, decloaking. Nope, just the stuff you forget always, which is dropping bombs and decloaking.
Yep, and it's also a convenient thing in tournaments when this phase is forgotten because your opponent will dial in maneuvers that will fly them directly into your bombs because you never forget when you have bombs. So the planning phase is just or the system phase follows your planning phase. Now, when you are placing, if both opponent and yourself are placing or doing things during the system phase, again, this will harken back to our previous episode when Matt spoke about the importance of the bid and choosing first or second player. It does go in initiative order. So, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, all the way through. And then
it goes ascending.
Oh, yeah, sorry, 1 through 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you have tying initiatives for ships that are dropping bombs, it goes in player order. So player 1 versus player 2, and that also goes with the bombs exploding at the end of the activation phase, which is a perfect segue into the next phase that we're going to talk about, which is the activation phase. This phase is probably one of the most straightforward phases when it comes to the game of X-Wing because it is simply in ascending pilot order. So from 1 to 6, you're going to reveal the maneuver for your ship. You're going to place the movement for your ship. I would say complete, but if you get blocked, then you just go. But you're going to place the movement of your ship at the end of the maneuver. You will then get to perform an action on the assigned bar. Now, we keep mentioning blocking or not being able to complete your maneuver. So go into the rules nerd portion of my brain. If you are not able to complete your maneuver, your ship must retract along its maneuver template to the closest point where the ship can actually be placed forward. Generally, this involves you kind of sliding along the template directly into the ship that is in the place where you are supposed to be. If you have a mass of ships and your ship can fit in between two but may not be able to complete the full maneuver, it does allow you to be placed in the center as long as your ship can be fully placed there. The benefit to blocking your opponent's ships is if they bump into you and they don't fully complete their maneuver, with the exception of in the case of a Nantex, they don't have the ability to take an action or do anything there. They just end their flight, and that is where it stops. So if you could move into place where you block them, you cause yourself to be able to get an action, and then they don't, which places you at a very large strategic advantage when it comes to rolling dice. After everybody's ships have moved and all actions have been completed, we go out of the activation phase and we go into engagement phase, which we will talk into our next episode in 101. But when it comes to the actual activation phase, like I said...
So Charles, can we move the...
Yeah, sure. Why don't we go with the Falcon?
Yeah, so let's activate. No. Let's go in order. Matt said all his dials. I said all my dials for you. I set your dials, so you don't get a choice in what moves you're making.
Oh, well, this ought to be interesting.
All right. So my 4 will go first because in ascending order, my 4 is the first ship, and as I'm player 1, as we just decided earlier, my 4 will go first, and he's going to do a 2 hard right, and then for my action, I will barrel roll, and then that's right.
Because he's got to run away. Why?
My 5
run away.
Goes next. I'm going to go 3 hard. Boost left. And that's it.
All right. So Charles is 5. Or I guess maybe mine is Nim. He's going to go 5 forward.
That's a 3 straight.
And he does not have a boost on him. Did I say 5? I meant 3. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
And he's going to reach out for a target lock.
Ooh, now.
And see here, you can see when he reached out, he will fail that because...
Oh, I was just going to say, when you fail a target lock action, meaning that you have thrown out your range 3 bubble and there is no enemy ship within that bubble, you still must target lock something because it is a target lock action. So you would end up taking a target lock on either the cloud or one of the rocks or a debris field in addition to that action.
Yep. And so, just for the record, the reason we target lock with NIM is because when we get to roll call and we get to shoot bombs out the front of our ship, I want to know what my range 5 is. So I have a bubble so I know exactly where it is. Now, it unfortunately gives this information away to Matt too, but at the same token, I want to know where my bomb could land if I shoot it out the front next turn.
All right. And Ciannery and Suntrafell are both going to do the same thing, which is 4 straightforward, rather. Focus, and then boost with the... Oh, I can't do that with these ships. Oops. Oh. Can't do the boost. I forgot.
You can't do what?
Don't worry about it. So they focus. I'd have done this differently in the system phase, but that's okay. Yeah, they move 4 forward and focus is what they did.
All right, so Fenn's going to go 5. And then, Charles, what would you do with Fenn then?
Well, to be first and foremost, I wouldn't do a 5 straight because that's going to put Fenn at range 3. But given this particular situation, what I would probably do is I would barrel roll to the right and rear and take a focus token for the stressful action, which is a linked action for Fen Rao, and hopefully I'm able to get him out of that range 3 arc of the TIE Interceptors. But if not, Fenn's going to be rolling 4 dice at range 3 with a focus. I think he's pretty safe at that point. But I've made that mistake many, many times where I have thought Fen Rao is safe, and Fen Rao is not.
Gotta be careful.
Then with the Falcon doing
there you go.
like a 4 straight. And I think in this case, it may behoove the Falcon to go ahead and stress and take a boost on this one just to get him a little closer into the action. Yep, I think that works well. And then so that is all of the ships in the activation at this point. So that would bring us to what would be the end of the activation phase. Now, there are plenty of cards, probably a number bigger than what I can think of off the top of my head, but there are a number of cards that have abilities that fire at the end of the activation phase. One of those cards, well, hers is technically the beginning of the engagement phase, but would be one of my favorite pilots, which is Guri, which if she ends at range 1 of an enemy ship, she is granted a free focus token. But there are a lot of at the end of activation abilities that allow you to do things based on where everything rolled out and how well you were able to plan for your opponent's maneuvers as well as plan what you are able to do. Looking at where we are now, the board state has completely changed, and this would allow us to transition into our next phase, which is the engagement phase, and that will be on our next episode of Academy 101.
Stay tuned!
All right, so let's move on to our roll call phase.
To put the cat down. You always gotta wait with the cat. All right. So a couple of the cards that we want to discuss, and one of the reasons actually I wasn't able to do the link maneuver. We'll start with that one. Is the card called Sensitive Controls. I'm sure Chris is bringing it up now. But basically what that says is it replaces my auto thruster ability, which is that double reposition, which if you've been paying attention, that's the reason why Sunter fell. Is one of Charles's most hated opponents. But basically it allows me to do a booster barrel roll during the system phase. It's kind of nice as what's called a pre-position. It allows you to change where your ship is at. giving it added ability to kind of confuse your enemies. So it does happen in that system phase. So as we discussed before, that planning phase where they set dials happens before the system phase. So basically, in this particular case, we'd be going back to the planning phase here and setting dials. Once you set those dials, is where this card would then take place. So basically, we would make our moves, and then I could, before, like for instance, I could take Sunterfell here, and I can boost left, just like that. And now I am a little bit different angle, a little bit less predictable as to where I was at. Uh, and then also I have some added options and abilities. Because I can take that, it does allow me to have a little bit more uh, versatility, I would say. I can also barrel roll, like I'm going to do a Sienna Ree here. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and barrel roll her to the left here. Gives me a little bit more room to have just in case a bomb does come out. With the next item we're going to talk about, which is the trajectory simulator. So basically a way to think of your the sensitive controls is that it is a Jedi preposition without the Force, but adding stress instead. You do lose something. You lose that secondary reposition that you have during the activation phase, which of course we just learned about. So instead of being able to say barrel roll and boost, now you can do the barrel roll ahead of time and then boost during your actual turn. So that's sensitive controls. There's a whole field of people telling you whether or not it's going to be the one to go for. Um, your own personal mileage may vary. I personally think that it would be great to have the preposition on the lower initiative ones and the reposition on the higher initiative ones, because it does give your aces or your acier ships, your higher initiative ships, as I talk about the AC ones, a little bit more versatility and abilities. Next one I want to talk about real quick is the trajectory simulator. This one's kind of an important one. What it allows you to do is it allows, instead of being able to drop a bomb, it allows you to launch it instead. So there's two terms that we're going to talk about real quick. Drop is behind the ship. Launch is in front of the ship. So when it says launch a bomb, it basically you can put the bomb out in front of the ship, and it makes you do it at range 5. So I'm sure Chris has pulled that up on the thing, but I'll real quick read it. It says, during the system phase, if you would drop or launch a bomb, you may launch it using a 5 template instead, which gives it quite a range in front of the ship. So if, for instance, Charles, you want to put the bomb launcher down there and show one
Absolutely.
for Nim for me, you'll kind of see where this is going to go. So it's important when you're first setting up and playing the game to know where exactly or what ships have it on there. So be prepared for this, just in case. Like Chris was saying too, especially if you're playing in your own local like game store, you can easily end up. Oh, here we go. Oh, you might have to do it, Charles.
Other side. I got you.
Well, it's not in the right spot.
Chris may have to do it.
Oh, did Chris put it down? Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
Okay, Chris decided to do it. All right, so if you noticed, it actually moved it to underneath this ship, directly underneath that ship. Those trajectory simulators do drastically change where a bomb would be, because normally all you'd be able to do is drop a bomb, unless some ship pilots do allow you to do a launching. But you basically usually would look at a 1 or a 2 launch. In this particular case, giving it a 5 launch, it throws it way in front of the ship and actually allows it to move and still not be bombed by that bomb. So it's a very useful tool, and it is avoidable if you do, pardon me, I'm so sorry, pay attention, but do be aware that it can strike you. So that's one of those ones that really can affect you if you're not paying attention. So now that you know, you can be prepared.
Now, one thing that we need to point out here with the trajectory simulator is an importance in the wording.
Right.
In that during the system phase, you would drop or launch a bomb, not a mine.
So that was the next thing I was going to discuss. Yep. So
Yes. Are you picking at me because I played in a tournament where I actually tried to put a Techno Union bomber that launches things with that on there, and it did not work, and I ran into that the hard way and actually lost the game by 4 points because I tried to launch a proximity mine, which you can see on the screen is a mine, not a bomb, figuring that I could launch it, hit the opponent, it would blow up, and then I would like kill that shit. It was a TIE fighter, so I figured it had 2 hull left. It could get hit with one max, minimum he would be at 1 hull if he didn't roll any damage. So I learned the hard way you cannot do that in a tournament, and ended up losing that game because of that.
It is a bomb, as they both mentioned. Like I said, it was the next thing I was going with, but it's all good. You can still drop a mine, obviously. You just cannot use the trajectory simulator to launch the mine. I believe I've covered them. Is there anything I missed, guys?
No, I think that's it. Just know that when you are planning for your bombs, they do not go off until the end of the activation phase. So when you are planning to launch or drop a bomb in place, you are going to be doing it thinking that you know where your opponent is going to go. All too often, I have thought that I knew where Matt was going to go or Chris was going to go and dropped bombs in planning such. And instead, they do the complete opposite of what I thought they were going to do, and they end up going nowhere near my bombs, and it's wasted. So just be careful in that when you're trying to plan where your bombs are going. It's not where the ship is when you drop the bomb. It is where the ship is going to be after all the maneuvers are done.
And so, actually, too, we didn't kind of discuss that, but so real quickly, I'm actually going to kind of mention this too. All right, so he's dropped this bomb in this turn. He's a 5. Technically, he would drop the bomb before I get to make my pre-position maneuvers. So in this particular case, I can go, uh-oh, I now could decide whether or not. Because as we talk about it, it really does start to add up in the initiatives. You understand why your Initiative 6 costs so much more than your Initiative 1 pilots. You really do get those added bonuses, those added few little things. If these were lower initiative ships, then Captain Nim could have thrown a bomb, and I wouldn't have been able to know that it was going to come or not come. He drops at initiative 5. If I had ships that were initiative 1, they wouldn't have that extra board knowledge or the evolving situation as the initiatives go up, or what we call board knowledge.
Yep. So that was
all right.
Covering
anything else you guys want to cover with? Yeah, and I will say that I like the sensitive controls. I don't like the point cost, because the point cost is 2, and I don't like that. And it's also required if you fly multiple ships, you have to have it on both of them. So Matt, if you could tell, Matt has both of them out for both his interceptors. That's 4 mandatory points. So you are not, it's not like you're able to just have it on one, because I'll be honest, I have used it on Sincere Fell to great effect. Like, it's been really fun to be able to pre-maneuver Sincere Fell before. And I say that because in this situation, I would be boosting, and then I would take him and move him all the way around to block Fen or to avoid a shot from Fen. One of the two. One of the two will happen, because if I boost and then I do like a 3 bank, I'm going to end up right here roughly. I don't know if you can see my hand on the screen or not, but I would end up right here roughly. And that's what I would want, because either I'll block Ben if he tries to go slow, or if he goes fast, I'm avoiding him. I'm going to take my shot. Chances are I'm not going to have anybody around me, and that's what Sincere wants. And I'm going to be outside of that bomb. So sensitive controls actually is a very underrated card that a lot of people are not utilizing right now. And I think that going forward, if they fix some of the point costs, we would be able to see more of it as an advantage, kind of like Disciplined is. That's another card we're not going to get into. Not tonight, at least.
Well, so for me, the other benefit.
Disagree with that.
Definitely
but
underpointed. We're going to see an increase in Disciplined.
So for me, when it comes to sensitive controls, I think two things come into play. One, it changes your play style when you're flying an interceptor, because if you don't have the sensitive controls, then everything is done after after the maneuver. So you're a reactive ship, whereas with the sensitive controls, it is a proactive ship. The other major benefit to it is if you dial in a blue maneuver after you do that, it gives you the stress to do the actual action, to do the barrel roll or the boost, and then you would be able to do a blue maneuver to shed that stress and still get your action. Whereas after you do that without the sensitive controls, you're holding that stress and preventing that pre-position after the turn. So again, it does mildly change the way that you fly your interceptors because, like I said, you're being proactive instead of reactive. But I do enjoy it for the flavor twist that it gives when you fly against interceptors all the time. You know about the double reposition, but having that pre-position can mess with you as well.
And our next segment is going to be another constructed Death Star, right? We're going to do another one, aren't we?
We are going to do another constructed Death Star, but why don't we, if we have time, would you like to do What Turns My Dials, or did you want to wait?
You want to do that? Are you telling me I need to do What Turns My Dials?
For all of you guys, I mean, I'm going to get the Discipline. No, I'm just joking. Chris has been wanting to. I think this is why he created this podcast with us, is so that he could speak of this. I'm relatively certain, so that he could constantly and ceaselessly talk about how horrible Torkel Mux is. So please, Chris, explain to the group at large and the world what is in your soul, sir.
All right, fine. We'll go with that. So, what churns my dials? There's a lot of things that churns my dial, but one of the big things that does is Torkel Mux. And I am going to be very cautious in how I say this because I don't dislike Scum. Actually, I kind of do like playing Scum. It's not like a thing that is so abhorrent to me that I will never ever in my life play it. But the one thing I hate is being able to take a bunch of ships.
Yeah. Says
What's
the best
that?
faction in the game.
So it's the best faction in the game.
Blow it out your ass. I'm just gonna mute you. It's not. But what turns my dials essentially is the fact that I have a hatred towards things that really mess with my actual ship, right? So the big thing that I have is if I'm running all sixes, if you play against Torkel Mux, what's going to happen is he's going to take your ship and he's going to make it an initiative 0. So we talked about initiative in the second episode where we talked about, how you get to move, where you place your forces down and things like that. So Torkel Mux is going to come in. So if I have a Soontir Fel and I get in the arc of a Torkel Mux, he's going to go, Soontir Fel, you're going to shoot at 0. And he's going to do that because of the fact that what he wants to do, and this is key, what he wants to do is say, you no longer can utilize any of your abilities during the engagement phase, and you're going to wait and have to become defensive until the end phase. Now, normally that doesn't sound bad because you only have one arc, right? Unless you have a bow tie arc or a turret arc, and Torkel Mux happens to have a turret arc. He also has this card called Moldy Bloody Crow. That's what he has. Moldy Bloody Crow essentially allows you to have a front dice 3 attack plus your turret. So you essentially are going to get 2 arcs, 2 bloody arcs. And if you want to bring up a TTS, don't do that because this is going to anger me, and then I'm going to go on a longer rant about why I hate Torkel Mux. But the big thing here is the fact that what he's going to do is he can shoot at you on that angle, right? So he has 50% coverage of the whole ship. So if you get anywhere in his thing, he can say, no, thank you. You're going to go last. Now, in the long run of things, and I'll try to wind it down a little bit so I don't run around and fall off the rails, is the fact that in a swarm tactics, which is what I like to play with CIS, if you were to do that with an important ship, Scum can run a semi-swarm, which is 6 to 7 ships typically with Torkelmugs and Moldy Crow in it. And essentially, if you run in a swarm tactics, you can focus on one ship that you don't want and just obliterate it. Just completely obliterate that ship. So if it cannot avoid you, that ship will not get to shoot no matter what, unless you have Nash Windrider from the Empire or Warthog from Republic. So there's 2 ships that allow you to keep your damn ship on the board until the end of the turn. Otherwise, essentially, you're just out of luck and that ship gets deleted. So that's my disgust with Torkelmugs.
So what he's talking about here is it changes the pilot initiative from 6 to 0. So basically what he was saying is it doesn't get a shoot. Generally speaking, your 6s will engage first. I know we haven't gotten to that yet, but you shoot and engage in a descending order, starting with 6, and then moving down to, obviously, 0. So the thing with Torkelmux is he does take your aces, where normally you'd be able to set an ace up just in front of your like, for instance, if Suntrafel and Torkelmux were facing each other, Torkelmux is, I believe, a 3. Is that right, guys? Or is he a 2? 2 or 3, either way.
Torkelmux is
and
a
then
2.
Suntrafel is a 6, right? So
he's a 2.
Usually, Suntrafel would go way before Torkelmux would. But in this particular case, by changing it to 0, it does allow Torkelmux to what we call, what would you call it? Initiative kill.
PS kill, initiative kill.
PS kill, yep. PS kill is a hangover from 1. Initiative kill is what we call it in 2.0. Basically, what it means is you're removed from the board at an initiative before you get to engage. And then the other ships that he was talking about were ships that allowed you to stay on the board after you engage. So that's one clarification I really quick wanted to mention. And then one other thing that he mentioned out there was Moldy Crow, which is a 16-point title that can be added to the Hawk 290. It does give it a front-forward 3 dice arc, so it does give it basically 180 degrees of coverage area with its 2 dice turret. So as he's not here to defend it, I guess we'll go to our resident Scum player to actually expound upon the strengths and weaknesses of it seen differently.
So the strength of Torkelmux, the list that I ran him in most efficiently, is normally running Torkelmux with at least the Moldy Crow. If nothing else, you're running that at least. And then you're going to run 3 of the Kiraz fighters, which makes this list forcibly in the extended format, as they have not been released in 2.0 yet. So you run 3 of them at the Cartel Marauder standpoint there, which puts them at 37 points each. And then you normally pair that foursome with Captain Seavor. Captain Seavor is the Mining Guild type pilot that allows, if an enemy is in your bullseye arc, you may spend his charge, and if you do, that enemy gains a jam token, which would forcibly remove maybe a defensive mod or a target lock from that particular ship. With this particular setup, you utilize Torkelmux to take a ship and force them down to 0. If you have flown it correct, you also are going to strip a token off of that ship, and then that ship is going to be taking 5 range 1 to 2 shots, hopefully, from the Cartel Marauders and from Torkelmux and Seavor. If you can get the Cartel Marauder into range 1, that is a 4 dice primary attack, hopefully modded. But most ships in the game, if they're small or medium base, can't swallow 5 consecutive shots with no return shot back on those ships, you tend to be able to delete a ship pretty quickly. And
So,
when you do that to someone like Fenrau, or you
so
do
I
that to
gotta.
someone
Hold,
like,
I'm gonna stop you.
yeah, go ahead.
You said you could have 5 of those cartel spacers.
No, 3. 3 cartel spacers,
Okay.
Torkel Mux, and Captain Seavor in a list. So 5 shots, but 3 of them coming 3 dice, and then
Or
depending on where
general.
Torkel is. Now, I will say that Torkel is extremely powerful. However, he is not unbeatable. Being that he is on the Hawk's dial is not amazing. The Hawk only has 2 defense die, which means you can knock it into oblivion pretty swiftly. And with only 5 health, it has less health than an X-Wing. So not amazingly stout of a ship. But again, if it's something that you can pull off, it is an amazingly fun mechanic for the person flying it. And as we can see, it creates some pretty healthy enemies and the people that have to fly against it.
It creates a negative play experience for those who have to fly against it. There you go.
So yeah,
Let's just be
so
honest.
we're gonna just real quickly pull that back down a little bit. He talked about a few things there, so we're gonna go into a Kiraz fighter, which is the scum-ish equivalent, lots of ishes there, of an X-wing. It's a 3 attack dice gun with a 2 defense dice. That one just has, I think, 1 shield, 5 hull. Slightly different. Basically, it's a heavy fighter, like the X-wing would be considered. He also talked about. Oh, we lost Charles. He also talked there about how it was a little less survivable, and that is one of the things that you do see with these Hawks. And I know that it's hard and it is oppressive, especially when you have all those attack dice coming in. But one of the things about it is that you can sometimes definitely dunk on those Hawks. You really can give it a little bit of a tap and just take it down from the list pretty quickly. So that was a good point. It does also not have a lot of flexibility when it comes to movement. The movement dial is kind of locked. But with the Moldy Crow, it allows you to bank focuses as well. I didn't add that on. I should have said that when I did that. It also allows you keep up to 2 focus tokens from previous turns. So that is another thing that the Moldy Crow title allows it. Welcome back. Either way, yes. When you have Torkel Mux with the Moldy Crow, and they have been recently. You've been seeing him paired with Zam Wessel. Basically, you really start having a pretty formidable ship. Zam Wessel basically allows you to, if the correct situations are met, to basically shoot twice, and also take free locks. So those are pretty oppressive tactics. So Chris is correct. It can really, really change the swing. Is it? I don't know. It's hard to say. It basically makes it no fun. It definitely makes it no fun for Chris. And
is it Nantex levels of overpowered?
Yeah, right. I don't think it's Nantex level personally, but I mean it is a very powerful ship. It is a very substantial portion of a list. So definitely keep an eye out there, guys. And now that you know,
All right. So let's move into the last segment for the show, the Construct the Death Star. So the last 2 episodes, you got to see Charles and Matt build lists. And what's going to happen is next episode that we do next week is going to have John join us to essentially build a list that will allow us to go ahead and fight for 2 different people, right? So Matt and Charles are going to fight. Me and John will fight. So what Charles and Matt are going to do is help me build a list, essentially, that we're going to take against John. And the best part is he's not here, so he doesn't know what list I'm going to build with you guys.
It's not like
And we're not going to tell him.
this or anything.
We're not going to tell him. He cannot see. We're not going to distribute it
episode
Are we
until
gonna,
after
what,
he's
ban
built
him
his
now?
list. No, we're
Until
not
he
going to
builds
release
his
this
list.
episode until he
Oh,
builds
is
his
that what it is?
list.
This is a super secret episode?
Yes, this is our super
Secret
secret
Squirrel.
episode 3.
Gotcha.
He won't get to see this live until after.
Wow. All right. Well, okay. Let's definitely give Chris the advantage over John. I think that's fair.
All right.
I think any three of us in this current podcast could use every advantage over John that we can get.
Agreed. All right.
All right. So last time, what happened is I got to pick Matt got to pick a faction that he wanted to fly, and there was a veto. Correct? That's how we're going to do this.
Yep.
Yeah. You can veto the faction, and then you can veto a ship.
All right. So do you pick the faction and then I veto, or do I get to pick the faction and you veto?
That would be the other way, and then you pick another one, and we can veto. So it basically gives us a lot of control over the faction, much less control over the list.
I definitely think this should be a scum list.
I would say no,
I veto
because
that.
then he's going to be tempted to put Torkel Mucks on the field.
Yeah.
And
Oh, there was no
Torkel Mucks
temptation.
in
That
there.
was going to be the first ship I put on the list.
Well, I know, but he will still fly it. I mean, I don't.
fly
I
it and
think
I'll
we're
hate
good
it.
on not putting Torkel Mucks on the field.
Yeah, I'm going to veto scum.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm vetoing scum. I don't want to run scum.
Right. So I'm actually going to say resistance.
Oh, okay.
Are you good with resistance, sir?
Yep. I don't get another veto, but yes, I like resistance. Yes, and I have ran
mean-
resistance quite a bit.
I guess
So-
it goes out to Charles too. Charles, are you good with the resistance? I think
I'm totally good with resistance.
the fun grouping. I like it.
Yeah.
Fireballs,
And in
here we
fairness-
go.
And in fairness, we don't have you ran Republic, Matt ran CIS. I knew I was not going to get CIS, even though that's really what you should just give me if you want me to beat John. But
Play John.
I will
don't
take
care who
I'll
wins.
take Republic. I love Republic.
Hmm.
And we don't have any bans, so you can't get rid of Heroic for me. So
Yeah, that's true.
But we can just not give you A-Wings.
you could. Yep, you
Well,
could. I know what you're going to give me, you butt muncher.
Oh, all
right, go ahead.
Well,
ahead.
apparently, if you know, go ahead, Charles.
I'm going to do something that I've not seen him fly and I haven't seen on the table in quite some time. We're going to throw an MG100 Star Fortress in there.
Yes, you are. That's where
I
I was
know.
gonna go too.
I knew that
Yes,
was
I
your aim.
am.
And if we're going to do that, we're going to put Venny in it then.
Okay, I'm good with that. I'm good with that as a pilot.
I mean, was that your veto? Because I didn't hear him say one. Just saying there. What were
I'm not
you
vetoing
thinking,
anything. I'll let you. I'll run.
I'm gonna hold on. Let me
MG100.
look at these pilots. Let me look at these pilots.
Oh
and
my
see what we
God.
got.
Well, the problem is, and he's 100% right, and just for everybody out there in the crowd, I likely guess that most of you don't know what this is. Basically, it is basically a 1.0 ship that has not been re-released. I think it'll be one of the less released ships, if I were to guess. It is a large base. It is a bomber. It is big. It is fat, and it is slow.
I think I'd like to see Eden Kephel. So he's in Initiative 3. After you fully execute a blue or white maneuver, if you have not dropped or launched a device this round, you may drop a device.
That's kind
All
of
right. I'll allow it. You're killing me though. Vinny's
Well, okay,
Vinny's,
so see, here's
Vinny's
the
a
thing.
staple, man.
I like
Like
Vinny,
nobody
one
runs
of-
these things
but
without Vinny.
Vinny is not concentrating on the bomber potential of this ship. He's
that's true.
concentrating on the gun. He's concentrating on the fat B-wing that this ship is. I want you to focus on the bomber that it can be.
right.
Then I'm going to add trajectory simulator to it.
I'm definitely in for that.
All right, Matt.
All right. Good question. What to do? As you've already set the pace. Ooh, the problem now becomes I see this as a bombing list now as a problem. Like
Fireball him. Give him
Oh.
a fireball.
why would I do it when I know you're going to? Like
Well, we could just bounce fireballs back and forth, and that's the rest of the list.
should we
give
give
a
him
fireball
Oh my
more
God.
with
a bunch of crappy pods?
You know what?
Generic transport pod.
I love putting on the board. I love Covanel with Leia. I love it. It's a huge piece. It's amazing. I'm giving you Covanel with Leia. Transport, Resistance Transport, Pilot Covanel, Crew, Leia Organa. A lot of points, but it's awesome.
All right. Well, if we're gonna add stuff, I think he did. Oh man. We obviously got to have some bombs. We got to have a payload of some sort. So
yeah, I think we should flesh out these two ships, and then we'll fill in with something else. Because right now you've eaten over 100 points in the two ships.
Yeah, exactly.
Your ship is more than mine, bro.
So I think we're gonna have to go with seismic charges at least because
by 1 point.
Yep.
We're gonna have to go with seismic charges because if we don't, I can't blow rocks up. Then I can bring rocks. My goal can be to put rocks in front of them and blow them up in front of other people.
Not a bad idea.
Because both these people ain't gonna move very fast.
R4
They're gonna like
is a staple on the Covanel too, so I highly suggest an R4 Astromech upgrade on Covanel.
And that's fine because that's only 2 points. So I agree with you. Actually, I like that on her.
I would also take a second payload on the on Eden. Maybe thermals. Or do you feel more like
Nope, I like thermals better than anything else. Personally, I wish I had Count Dooku, but you didn't give me CIS, so I don't get my Count Dooku.
I'm sorry about your luck.
So if I can make a recommendation, this is not by all means saying that we're going to put this anywhere. But I think that you should have 2 gunners on the Star Fortress, one of them being Paige Tico and the other being a skilled bombardier.
All right, so I don't know what Paige Tico is. After you perform a primary attack, you may drop 1 bomb or rotate your... All right, I'm going to go with Paige. I like Paige Tico because I can use Trajectory Simulator to launch it.
Correct. Correct. And you do it after you attack, so that bomb gets some extra usage for board denial.
And Skill Bombardier is only 2 points.
Yes,
and I can now use
gives you you can do
4.
a 4 straight to launch as well, or a 2 straight to go out the back, giving you extra added coverage bonuses and stuff like that.
Not a bad way to go. So the question is now, Charles. I think that those are pretty full. They're pretty filled out. The only thing that I would add, if it were me, maybe is a heroic. But let's see how many points we have left at the end there. But I think that's pretty filled out.
I'm going to put heroic on anyway because it's only 1 point.
Kova. Put it on Kova. You don't need it.
It's going. Done.
About Kova now?
Dunzo.
Okay. All right. So we're at 134. Now the question is, what piece do we shove into this very mismatched list?
It depends because some of me says you put fireballs in, and then some of me says you give me Poe.
Yeah, that's some of me says Poverdrive thruster with Poe, but I don't know.
But the problem is, I'm pretty sure Poe is pretty expensive.
Oh, exceptionally expensive.
Depending on which Poe you go with.
Points.
Yeah, we can go with.
I got 6 points left.
Heralds of Hope Poe.
So I have my thought, just for sheer annoy factor. I think we should go with Kazuda in the Fireball.
Yeah, I like that better than Poe. I'll be honest. I'm a bigger. I run more ships typically than
I know.
2.
That's why you're getting less ships.
To be fair, here's the thing: if you left Kazuda with no upgrades, you could fit a Colossus Station mechanic into this list and end up with a 4-ship list just with 2 fireballs.
The question is Kazuda that good, or because you can do? No, you can't shoot. Okay, yeah, you can do.
So the reason that the reason I put Kazuda in there is if the enemy's initiative is higher than the number of damage cards you have, you may roll one additional die. So he gets an
Oh.
additional attack and defense die as long as someone's initiative that he's shooting at or defending against is higher than that, and he starts the game with one face down damage card to start.
Right.
So he's got that one. So now that makes him a 3 attack, 3 defense as long as whatever is shooting at him is higher than initiative 1, which most cases, looking at the lists that we've built, I didn't think I saw any initiative 1s thus far. So unless John happens to get assigned by the 3 of us a droid swarm with all I1s,
Right.
I think this is a pretty solid pick.
I do have a
Yep.
question, and here's maybe a modification. If we drop Skilled Bombardier and we drop Heroic, we can give him an R5 Astromech on Kaz, which allows him to repair his damage card, and thus have no damage cards and make his ability that much more effective.
You know what? I want to look at something because I like that R5 Astromech, but how much points does this?
R5
I need
Astromech,
4 points because I'm going to put Rose. Like, I don't know what else to do. I got
So you
points
said
left.
get
I
rid
mean,
of Skilled
technically, you could do
Bombardier
that
and
without
get rid
putting
of
Rose.
Heroic.
and that
Oh,
gives
then
you
my
the,
idea is not going to work.
the 4 points required for the R5.
Because throwing a shield upgrade on Kazuda would be crazy because you can heal that damage and then you don't take a damage for
You can
you know,
still
for the first
heal.
attack, but yeah, you can still continuously heal off of that with the at
Well,
least get
2 of
2.
Yeah.
Now remember, you can only repair the face-up ship card or the face-up ship card if it's a ship damage card. So hopefully that's the one you draw. But I like Kazuda with an
With
R5.
Kaz's
You can-
Fireball, you get to pick.
Yeah, you can repair a face
Just
down
so you know.
damage card too.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. So here's the thing: if we do Kazuda and we take out the other Fireball and you make it a 3-ship list, then you still have room for the Skilled Bombardier, for Heroic, and you said you wanted to throw what on Covanel?
Heroic on Kova, and Skill
Right, and then he
Bombardier
said there was
on-
something else that he wanted.
No. I was going to put Rose in there for a 4th ship.
Oh.
I got 24 points to play with right here. No,
Rose
not,
in the
no,
pod?
Yeah,
Not anymore, I
Rose is
can't.
25 points. So you can do Rose instead.
I'm 1
of
point
the-
short.
Well, you could.
Then
Okay,
drop Skilled Bombardier.
I did.
So you drop Skill
That's
Bombardier.
200 flat, dude.
Yeah, and you add Heroic back to Covanel, and you're fine.
I'm at 201.
What do you got on?
So we've
Covanel?
got the Star Fortress with Trajectory Simulator, Page Tico, Thermal Detonators, Seismic Charges.
Yep.
You've got the Resistance Transport with Covanel, Heroic, Leia, and R4.
No Heroic.
Well, okay, but you can add Heroic.
Then Kazuda with the R5,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it.
Well, do you want me to? Okay. So do you want me to drop Kaz's Fireball then?
Oh, you put the title on there. That's the piece you had that I
Yeah,
just...
because then I
you
could
don't need to
pick
do
the
title.
damage card I want.
Yeah, but you don't have to, see. So with the R5, you remove that card right away, so there's no point in doing both. You do one or the other.
Yeah, because the R5 is going to
see.
let you heal that
Okay.
card. Because it'll be face down no matter what.
see.
It's only
Right.
face up if you have to expose it.
Yep. So then I could put Heroic back on Covanella, and I got 200 flat.
Yep, and you got Rose
your
200. I think that's a solid list, my friend.
I mean,
Is there
it's got a Star
anything that you
Fortress
want
in
to
it,
veto or
so-
that you can pull off?
Am I allowed to veto the Star Fortress?
No.
Or when it came out.
I mean,
We could
come
do
on,
it,
dude. It's an
Benny.
11 health B wing. Like you're gonna, and it's got a bow tie arc.
We could do Venny instead.
I guess.
Venny with...
Yeah, but if we do Venny, we lose a. Well, I mean, Venny gives you an option for 2 more points, but again, Eden gives you so many more options to drop because after you execute your maneuver at I3, you then get to drop a bomb. or launch a bomb because you have trajectory simulator on there.
Oh, let's see here. With that, you do. Is it Agile Gunner? Which one is it? Nope. You do.
No, I think you're right, Charles. I think we stick with this. It's a fun list. I've never run Eden before, in fairness.
Interesting.
So I don't run. I don't run Star Fortresses ever. So
I think we all have something on the list that we've built where we're looking at it and going, I have never seen this card on a board ever. Let's give it a shot. Because I have Kip Fisto.
Yeah, and against your list, I would 100% take this list.
Yeah,
I would win.
You're not wrong.
I would essentially decimate your list. But again, I don't know what John's going to pick, so that's fine. It's fine.
There you go.
It's fine. It's the idea is to have fun. I will admit I've never ran a Star Fortress, and if it's fun to run, I own one, so I could put it on the table next time. That's the goal is going to be is to have enough fun with this that I can put this on the table and have fun.
Exactly.
That's going to be the goal. So, I agree with you. We're going to go with this. I saved it. It's my Tanner Construct the Death Star, and that's the way it is because all our systems belong to us. That's how it works.
All right, guys. So let's just do a quick rundown of Chris's list. We have the MG 100 Star Fortress with Eden Capfell, Trajectory Simulators, Page Tico, Gunner, Seismic Chargers and Thermal Detonators. We have the Covenel with Heroic, Astromech R4, and Leia Organa. We have Kaz in the Fireball with the R5 Astromech and Rose in the Resistance Pod.
Now remember, in order to field this list, you must have 2 resistance transports because you can't field the pod and the resistance transport separately from each other.
Right. Because we have to.
Guess who owns 2 of them? This guy.
Well done, then. If Dune ever sees,
I like resistance.
If Dune ever sees this episode, I apologize ahead of time for that shot, but I don't think he ever will, so I think we're all right.
Technically in the rules, I believe
all right.
Required.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We've had an amazing time having a conversation with you about our show. And again, the idea behind this is we want to help you become better X-Wing players, learn the game of X-Wing, or just have fun. And like this segment kind of shows they took, and let's be honest, I have ran Resistance quite a bit, and you can ask Matt. Matt will admit I love Resistance to some extent, more or less because of A-Wings and Ray, but I do like Resistance, and that was probably the 3rd faction I actually bought into out of the box. So like I bought into Empire, this, and then Resistance was the 3rd one. And some of that was because my son owned Republic, so there's no reason to buy into it. And then Matt started to get into First Order, so it was kind of like, if our goal is to just be able to play the game with whatever faction we wanted, there was no reason for all of us to own everything. But then the addiction set in, and Chris owns almost everything. So I spent more money than I should have on this game. But at the exact same time, it's really fun. And one of these days, Charles is actually going to come to Michigan, probably hopefully this year. And he's going to hang out with us, and we're going to play an in-person game where we decimate Charles with his Torkoal Mux. And I will purposely stream that game live, where I will put a list together to destroy Torkoal Mux just for everyone's enjoyment. That's how much I hate Torkoal Mux.
He's going to break his model.
Nope, I will not break his model because I have to buy him a new one. And I'm cheap. I don't want to do that. But I will destroy.
I just got a new one with my my squad pack, so I'll put the brown one on. And so if you break it, I still got the black one, so I'm good.
That's fine. I will ensure that Charles loses that game with Torkoal Mux. I will wager money on that game that Charles will lose that game because I hate Torkoal Mux that much. I want to win. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. We will be back with another episode of Planning Phase Syndicate. And if you like what we're doing, go ahead and hit the follow button on Twitch, the subscribe button, and the little bell on YouTube. Go over to our Facebook and like and subscribe, as well as if you want to donate a little bit of money, you can join us over on Patreon. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back with another amazing episode next week. Have a good night, everyone.
One real quick, once again say thank you to JR,
please make sure to get your information to Charles or myself. Thank you.